Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Riviera Homeowners Association Zoom General Meeting. I'm Pam Popovich, sharing the presidency with Judy Brunetti. And we're delighted you could be here tonight, at least virtually. We're hoping sometime in the next year we'll get back to in person so we can have refreshments and all that good stuff. We're delighted too that you are here tonight. And to get started, our talented webmaster, Julian Chasen, who is responsible for our website, and he's our tonight's host, as you may have noticed. Julian has a brief message about our website and how you can become an RHA member. Julian?
Thank you, Pam. I do wish to just run through our website quickly here. So you should see that all you need to do is type in hollywoodriviera.org. And we've had this website for, well nigh 15 years or more.
Yeah.
What I would encourage folks to do, if you haven't already, is join 399 other followers by putting in your email address. And what that will do is allow you to get emails when we update the website with announcements like this meeting. It's kind of it's the ability for you to subscribe or unsubscribe yourself as you wish. As far as this meeting goes, we will be taking questions through the chat function in Zoom. So if you don't have that chat function visible, you can click on the chat button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll relay your message to either Richard or Mayor Furey as needed.
Okay.
I wanted to point out that another way for you to ask questions at any time would be to email our co-presidents. It's Pam and Judy. And you can see there's a president at hollywoodriviera.org that you can send an email to. During the meeting, after the meeting, or anytime at all. Finally, I wanted to point out that we do accept memberships, and that's how we keep the RHA going. We don't have a large budget, but if you've seen the signs in the neighborhood, we do have some costs for promoting these meetings and associated other costs. You can fill out the membership form and mail it in with a check, or you can easily sign up for a membership through PayPal. And I think that's all I have to say. We have a limit of 100 people. I think right now, what do we have? 80. We have 80 people. So we're, looks like we're going to be able to manage everybody. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and type it into the chat. If they're technical in nature, I'll try to answer them.
Okay.
So thanks.
All right.
Back to you.
Great, Julian. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my co-president and past president, Judy Brunetti. When Amy resigned, Judy was gracious enough to take her position. We assured her that she didn't need to work as hard as she did when she was, but
laughing.
Well, she just can't help herself, and that's what with that.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. Yes, I need one of those decals that says, please prevent me from volunteering again. But no, it's a pleasure here. Pam is a wonderful person. She's been involved with the RHA, she says, for decades. And she's an activist, and she's our community liaison, and she's a wonderful co-president, and she's my role model. So I'm pleased to be here with her, and I'm pleased to be here with you. I'm Judy Brunetti, and after retiring from South High School, I became active in the RHA in 2008, and I've made wonderful friends here and learned more about city government than I could ever have predicted. But if you are interested in local government, and I assume you are because you're on this Zoom call, I would ask you to please consider joining our board or volunteering with us. We need help with paperwork and attending commission and council meetings. to take notes for us or with us. If you are thinking about possibly taking your public service a step further, I would highly encourage you to take a one-day workshop for a commissioner position and join the Airport Commission or the Planning Commission or any commission that appeals to you. Right now, for example, on the Planning Commission, there's only one person who, one commissioner lives in the Riviera, only one. And this affects the voting that the commission does on these hillside overlay cases. We need more representation on the Planning Commission, so please consider that. Anyway, if you are interested in joining us or getting involved with us, I'm going to ask Julian to show the email address to contact us directly, president@hollywoodriviera.org. I hope you have it, or I'll say it again. Do you have that, Julian? Where'd he go? Okay. Let's see.
Okay. Take
Oh, there it is. Okay, president@hollywoodriviera.org. If you have questions tonight that you don't need answered immediately, you can always send us these questions and we will get back to you with an answer. I mean, as quickly as we can. So thanks, Julian. So we are happy that you're joining us. We're really honored to have Mayor Furey as our guest speaker. Before he goes into his presentation, we have three quick announcements. Number one, the Ashai Development Corporation of LA is planning a large development at the corner of Hawthorne and Via Valmonte. There will be a 3-story office building, 11 condos in back, 35 parking spaces, and one entrance and exit driveway to Valmonte. So there is a community meeting, a required community meeting at the Torrance Airport meeting room tomorrow night at 7 p.m. If you have questions or concerns about this, you actually need to go to the meeting in person for this one. It's too late to send in a letter, but you can ask us questions about the meeting, but if you are able to go, we would encourage you to go to the meeting to share your concerns with this. Number two, announcement, Thanksgiving is the 25th and it's coming. We haven't even finished the Halloween Snickers at my house, but the Harry Sutter Memorial Turkey Trot will begin at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 25th at the Sam's Club parking lot. And that's a fun event and it's a good way to get exercise before you have a turkey dinner. You can register with Torrance registration or type in Turkey Trot Torrance on the Safari or whatever search engine you have. It's $30 to register. It's a fundraiser for community services and you get a t-shirt that will last you forever, okay? It's true that they do. Okay, number three, there is a Hillside overlay hearing at City Council next week on Tuesday, the 9th, and the address for that is 139 Monte d'Oro. It's item 10A on the agenda. If you'd like to view this hearing, you can see it on Channel 3 on Spectrum because there's no live attendance at this time, so you have to watch it on TV. Channel 3 on Spectrum, Channel 31 on Frontier. The meeting starts at 6:30, but you don't have to log in at that time. You can watch it on TV. When you see item A coming up, you may log in at that time. If you wish to speak regarding this project, you may call in on phone, and that phone number is 310-618-2404 if you wish to comment on the Hillside hearing. And our last announcement is really a short update on the Torrance noise abatement program. We asked Richard Root, our neighbor, who's been following this issue for a decade, to fill us in, and he has kindly agreed to share some of the latest developments with us. Again, if you have questions for Richard, please use the chat function at the bottom of the screen, and either he will answer the question or we will ask him the questions. And we're only going to take a couple of questions, have a couple questions here for Richard at this point. But Richard, please tell us what is happening with the noise abatement program and the web track system at the airport.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, good.
Yeah, you're okay.
Got it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Judy, for inviting me to speak on this. It's important because the city is in the process of reconsidering its noise abatement system, and what they decide could have a big impact on future noise in our area for a long time to come. But first, some people may not know much about the background, so let me begin with a little historical background. From about the 1950s through the 1970s, the city established noise abatement laws which have allowed the airport and the community to coexist. For example, one law prohibits aircraft from exceeding noise limits in the community. Those limits are 82 decibels during the day or 76 decibels at night. And this helps keep excessively loud aircraft from using the airport. Another law actually helps the Riviera mitigate noise. That law states that aircraft taking off to the west, which most of them do most of the time, shall not turn left until reaching the ocean or attaining an altitude of 1,500 feet. This helps keep planes from taking low over the Riviera, which has higher ground, and it's also the city's quietest noise region. So instead of planes fly straight out from the runway heading all the way to the ocean, they don't ever go over the Riviera at all. And violations of this law are called early left turns. So to help capture these violations, the city has contracted for years with a private company for automated noise monitors and flight tracking systems. And the cost of these systems is paid for out of revenue from airport leases and fees and does not come out of taxpayers' pockets. But last year, the contract came up for renewal. Staff recommended renewing the contract, but some council members questioned the cost and actually whether or not the city needed to continue the system at all. After a lot of debate, the council voted 4-2 to allow the city's contract to expire. So the system was taken down, and this has resulted in the city not doing any enforcement at all in the past year. By the way, for the record, as I recall, Mayor Furey voted against the motion, saying he didn't think the city should allow the contract to expire.
Right.
Fast forward to now this past March, when the Airport Commission took public input on this topic. Many residents showed up and complained that the noise has gotten worse since enforcement stopped. 14 of the 16 speakers urged the city to contract for a new system. And in April, the council agreed and directed staff to request proposals. But they wanted to, the proposals to itemize components so the council could decide what to keep and what to do without. So the details of the system are have yet to be decided. At the present time, the city has received about a dozen proposals, which the staff is now evaluating. And sometime in the next few months, the issue will come back to the council to award a contract. At that time, they'll decide which components to include in the contract. And the city's noise abatement program is being attacked by some pilots who don't think the city needs any enforcement at all. And they're especially challenging the city's authority to enforce its no left turn law that I talked about earlier. So if you're concerned about aircraft noise, you may want to follow this issue and let the city know where you stand. I'm guessing the earliest it'll come up is probably early next year. And our HOA board has agreed to let residents know when the item is scheduled for city council.
Yes.
If you need more information, you can contact the board at their email at president@hollywoodriviera.org. So Judy, that pretty much completes what I had to say,
Okay.
unless we have some questions.
There are a couple questions, and one was, do you know who were the city council members who voted to stop using the web track and the airport noise abatement program?
The ones that voted to not to renew the contract, as I recall, were council members Matucci, Chen, Councilwoman Ashcraft, and Councilman Goodrich. Those were the four
Oh,
that voted that way. And then, as I said, Mayor Furey and Councilman Griffiths voted not to allow the contract to expire.
great. So there was one person, it looks like one person absent that night.
Yeah, Councilwoman Kalani recused herself.
Oh, okay,
So that accounts for everybody.
okay, thank you. And let's see,
Here's another question, Judy.
yes,
If some pilots are challenging, I wish it wouldn't go so fast, where'd that go? If some pilots are challenging that law, why not let them take it to court and file a suit? If we don't think they have a case, why just roll over? Anyone want to, Richard, what do you think of that? Is that,
Well,
maybe that may be for, I don't know, the council or mayor. So the if the law is still enforceable, why isn't the city council enforcing it is the question, right? Basically, why is the city not enforcing it? Okay.
yeah,
so-
the only thing I can say about that is that the issue first surfaced about 2 years ago. And at that time, the city staff said that they thought the city's law would stand because it was grandfathered to be allowed to remain in place. But out of an abundance of caution, they decided they weren't going to enforce it and really push the issue to a head. So there's been no enforcement for the last 2 years on that rule.
Right.
And the city also said that they were in the process of discussing this with the FAA to get their opinion on it. But that was 2 years ago, and that opinion hasn't come to pass as far as I know.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think really the only way this issue is going to be finally decided is probably in court. You're going to have different people interpreting the law to mean different things.
Okay.
But anyway, that's where it is.
Okay, at least we need to get we could get a decision from city council to reinstate the airport noise abatement program. That would be in the web track. That'd be great. That'd be very helpful, right? I mean,
Yeah.
We'd like to see that. Okay. All right, I don't want to, thank you so much, Richard. This is really the most information I've heard on this in a long time. I don't want to take a lot of time on questions on this at this point because I want to hear from Mayor Furey. But if you have questions and you would like to ask questions, let's see, from Mayor, you know what? I can't open up these chat questions. I'm sorry.
I can't. I think there are a
Oh,
lot,
they're over, okay,
Judy, there are a lot of comments.
they're
not-
there. Yeah.
There
Okay,
may be,
so,
Judy, excuse me, there may be one question that would be easy to answer. And
Yeah.
it is, will this abatement apply to helicopters as well as fixed wing?
that's a great question.
Mhm. Richard?
Well, the city's noise abatement, noise limits, the 82 decibels and the 76 decibels apply to all aircraft, helicopters, and fixed wing planes. But the early left turn issue is primarily just fixed wing planes.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, wow, thank you so much. Okay, all right, well, Richard, you're gonna stick around till the end of the program, right? For if there are additional questions, and we will, let's see, right, we will take more questions at the end, but there are a lot of there are a lot of chat questions, I have to say. But I don't want to take up a lot of time at this point. I'd like to go on to the mayor's presentation, and we can come back and get questions, ask questions of the mayor and also of Richard Root after Mayor Furey, that's okay with everybody, okay? So, so Richard, if you sit tight, we will talk to you again, I'm sure.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, now it's a real honor and a pleasure for me to introduce our speaker tonight, Mayor Pat Furey. And Pat Furey was elected to Torrance City Council in 2008, and he garnered the mayoral seat in 2014 and was reelected in 2018. As mayor, he serves on the state and federal legislative advocacy committees, the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, the League of Cities, and many other agencies. He's retired from the County of LA, where he served as a principal deputy county counsel for children's services. He's always been a strong supporter of the Hillside overlay ordinance. He was instrumental in getting the tree and view ordinance adopted by the city. And he votes for the Riviera residents in Hillside cases more than anybody else on the council. So I know that he hears us, which doesn't mean that everything is perfect right now, but I know that that our mayor, Pat Furey, hears us. He supports programs and services that enhance our lives in Torrance, and he's been a mayor during a really difficult couple of years, but we're still standing. So if you have questions during his presentation, please use the chat function to send a written question. If you can wait until tomorrow, you could send an email to president@hollywoodriviera.org, and we will get an answer to you. And if you want to contact Richard Root with a lengthy question, you can send an email to president@hollywoodriviera.org, and we'll get the questions to Richard and get an answer back to you. So with that, Mayor Platt, would you please update us and give us the news, and don't forget to put in some good news for us, por favor.
I'm going to really try and give some good news. There has to be some balance to everything.
Right.
First of all, I want to thank Pam and Judy for doing what they do. Prior to being elected to the city council in 2008, I served for 8 years prior to that as the president of my homeowners association. So I know what difficult tasks you do have keeping everything in line. And I would tell everybody who's here that democracy is a participatory sport. You know, you can sit back and say, boy, that's terrible. I can't believe they're doing that. But if you're not involved in the actual building of it, then you really don't have much room to squawk. You know, we all feel that way. I carry, and just to get off on something, I have this little card. It was a letter that was sent to me by a young lady. I have no idea who she is, but it's a very pleasant. It says, "Dear Mayor Furey, City Council members and city employees, I'd like to thank everyone for your hard work and efforts for making our community a better place to live and to work." And she signed it, and I keep it in the pocket of one of my suits. And when I wear that suit at a council meeting and take it out, I can smile at that. There are things to smile about in government. Lots of good things are happening. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention, I just got the word, we lost another Torrance resident to COVID-19. Our total now is 240 people we have lost to COVID-19. There's almost 10,000 people who had positive tests in the city residents, but we've all been impacted by COVID-19. You know, we're required to get vaccinations and wear masks. And fortunately, I think we're coming out of the dire part of it, but I still ask everybody to continue your efforts. If you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. I just got my third one, and my arm's a little sore, but I feel a little bit stronger with the ability that I can share time with my grandchildren and not get them sick. Good news was they just approved the 5 to 12-year-olds, and it looks like 2 of my grandchildren will be getting vaccinated later this week, and we're really happy for that. Let me tell you, I have 251 days left. Judy, you said 1 year. 251 is less than a year.
Wow.
But behind me in my rearview mirror, I have 2,668 days as the mayor
Oh,
and 4,873 days as an elected official in the city of Torrance since July 1st of 2008. Are there lots of things? Absolutely. I know so many people. I recognize your faces, your names, and I appreciate you tuning in tonight. I know it's we could be doing something different. Thankfully, the World Series is over. I really don't care about it after the Dodgers lost, so I didn't watch it until last night just to see how it ended. I feel a little bit better because Jock Peterson was on the team, and Jocktober they call him. He helped us win the World Series last year, and so he got back-to-backs.
okay.
I made a couple of notes of what I thought we should talk about, and some of these are the issues going on in our city. Hillside overlay, I know we have to talk about that when I'm talking to Riviera homeowners. Airport noise, Richard, you summed up greatly what happened there. Can't believe they voted to outlaw or to do away with the monitoring device. It was foolhardy. It's going to cost us a lot more money to get back something like that. Hopefully it'll be as good, but it's going to be tough with the budget crunch we have going with us right now. Traffic, obviously that's always an issue in our city. Housing and development, I think everybody's heard about our regional housing numbers, almost 5,000 were required
Yes.
just to identify. And then the ADUs and Senate Bill 9 and 10, I'm happy that somebody's going to discuss that tonight. This next Tuesday, we're actually going to do a resolution for local control. Hopefully we'll get a ballot measure up that statewide that'll take away Sacramento doing this to us local officials. We feel as though we know how to do zoning better than somebody in Sacramento. We know our city. Catalytic converter thefts, the Torrance Police Department issues. I really have to let you know, I think you know that the city council and I share our community's distress regarding the troubling allegations against some of our police officers. But I can state unequivocally that we have no tolerance for misconduct of any kind by any of our city staff.
Wow.
But I also have to let you know that myself and my colleagues on the city council must be very careful not to speak or to prejudge the allegations against individual officers, because under the municipal code, disciplinary appeals can end up being heard by the city council. However, I can say unequivocally, the type of behavior being alleged clearly does not reflect the values of our city. We do not condone anyone that acts in excess of their authority in our police department or our city government. Chief Hart was not personally involved in the investigation of the facts and the circumstances of the case, nor the district attorney's conclusions on the criminal matter. However, the police chief has assured us that an administrative investigation is being conducted, and if appropriate, administrative action will be taken at a local level. As the district attorney acknowledged recently, it was our police department that actually uncovered and investigated the alleged criminal activity, leading to the criminal charges being filed against those two former Torrance police officers and several other officers being placed on administrative leave. So
Okay.
it was an internal investigation. It wasn't somebody else coming in. And to that, I do have some pride. I am confident that under the leadership of Chief Hart, the police department has and will continue to aggressively ensure that bigotry, racism, prejudice, and misconduct have no place in the police department or in our city. And I have confidence that Chief Hart will continue to hold our police employees to the highest standards. He is a diamond. He is really one of the best people for the job. I saw him as a patrolman 20 some years ago and recognized that he someday would be our police chief. And I really feel validated that I saw that in him. My promise to you and all of our residents and visitors is that I will personally do everything I can to ensure that all people feel welcome and safe and protected in our community. With your assistance, I know we'll all get through this and be better for it. I had to say that just to let you know that it's really important, and it's perhaps one of the most important things that have happened in our city most recently. Another important thing is our Beach Cities Health District, the building that they're planning over there. We've been clearly opposing that. The refinery is always an issue. The safety at the refinery is most important to those of us who live close to it, as well as those of you who live a distance away. The the transit center. You know, I've heard negative things about the transit center, about those people are going to be coming here because of the transit center. Hopefully the Green Line, or the C train as they're calling it now, will be here in short time. But I want to share that the Expo line received much of the same negative feedback when they were putting that through Los Angeles, West Los Angeles, Santa Monica. And right now, the Expo line is the reason that Google headquarters has located itself in West Los Angeles in the former West Side Pavilion. And Apple TV Plus has just doubled their size in Culver City because they're right next to the Expo line. It's an important method of transportation. It'll get people from our city to the airport, to other areas in the county without getting on the freeways or driving on our streets. So have a little patience with the transit center. It should have been built up about a year ago, but it looks like January or February we'll be doing my final ribbon cutting. I'm telling my staff that I'm getting carpal tunnel syndrome from cutting ribbons over at the transit center. We dug the dirt. We did it when we first started building it, and we'll do it the next time that we're going to actually pull buses into there. The sports complex has been in the news recently. I just got word. It looks like we've resolved that issue. It looks like we're going to be entering into a 7-year lease with the Judicial Council, pending approval by the council on Tuesday night. So I can't give you the details, but it looks very, very promising. Council disruptions, you've seen it since the early part of 2019. They've been disrupting our meetings, and we still continue on. Now I'm going to go through a few things. Coyotes, I know coyotes are on everybody's mind. Homelessness, that is also an issue that's really big in our community. Illegal dumping, again, a very, very big issue in our city. But I want to advise you all to not fall into the dog whistling of this. People are going to tell you about homelessness. They're going to tell you about the coyotes. They're going to tell you about the illegal dumping. These have been going on for years, if not decades, and we've been actually working to resolve those things for years, if not decades. They're not easily resolved. Every city has those same exact problems. So, you know, just let you know that the city is working on it. And just because somebody says that's a big issue, it doesn't mean that they're very, very intelligent. I think some of the children in our community could recognize that there's a homeless issue, that there's coyotes are an issue, and people are illegally dumping furniture and other things on our streets. There is also a move afoot for a city health department. Yeah, and that's a pushback to the health orders that we received from the county and from the state of California. The county has done an amazing job, considering that they're adjudicating for 10 million people. Are we different in the South Bay? Absolutely, we're different than South Central. We're different than Northwest. We're different than Northeast. We're different than Southeast County. But we are still part of one big county, and it would drive us broke to try and replicate those services that the health department does for the city of Torrance, for the county of Los Angeles, and all the other 87 cities in our community. I certainly hope that just disappears on its own volition. There's some really good news as a business-friendly city. With the last 4 years, even in the pandemic, we were named the most business-friendly city in Los Angeles County by BizFed, which is an organization of businesses. So that's really a good thing to hear from those people. We're finalists from the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation. They're going to announce at SoFi Stadium on November 10th at a big gala. We got our fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll get the big award from them as well. I'll get back to some of our business programs in a little bit. Another really good thing is our housing improvement plan, HIP, at torranceca.gov. If anybody who is a senior citizen who has low income, disabled, the city actually provides a service to do ramps, maybe do a little bit of plumbing jobs, a little electricity, maybe a garage door is not working. And we've been doing this since the 1970s. It was a program that was instituted by President Richard Nixon following the Vietnam War to train vets coming home from that, and we're still using it here in the city of Torrance. Been a great program for our citizens. Now back to the bad news. We're hearing about the drought. Folks, I want to let you know, we've been in a drought for 20 years. We've seen some good days, some good years, but frankly, we've been in a drought situation for 20 years and it's not getting any better. The good news, if there is any good news for that, is the city of Torrance has our own water department. We actually provide water to 80% of our community. Some folks up in the Riviera have cow water. Sorry about that, folks. The rest of us are enjoying rates that are 50% lower than you, as well as 50% lower than our neighboring cities as well. And we have a great blend of water. We're looking for 100% water independence. That may be something jousting at windmills, but 80% is doable. We have some wells that we've just drilled in North Torrance. We have a $3 million gallon reservoir that was built right behind Yukon Elementary School in the 405. And there's a fresh well there. There's another well that we're looking at over on the east side of North Torrance. And this will actually bring us up to maybe 50% water independence. We doubled our desalter over at the city yard. I don't know if you're aware that we take brackish water out of the former aquifers that were saltwater intrudes back in the late 40s, early 50s, and we've been pumping, the Water Replenishment District has been pumping reclaimed water or recycled water into there as a barrier. We've been taking it out and using the desalter to take the brackishness out of it, mixing that up with the water we get out of our wells, as well as the water we must purchase from the Metropolitan Water District, and that's what we're delivering to our citizens that are part of the Torrance Water Department. So that's really exciting stuff. And you know, with stormwater, we've seen what happened on the canals over in Carson. We are fortunate again that we have some what we used to call sumps, and now we call them water retention basins. Much more pleasant name. And we actually divert the water into there, treat the water, and let it percolate back into the aquifers, and maybe we'll be drinking that water, that same exact water, in 20 years. So and that's a very exciting thing. And as we keep getting grants to be able to do that, we keep approving them. And I really enjoy that aspect of what we do in our water department.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, could I take just a moment and ask a related question, because I'm seeing it come by on the chat here. Is there a way to extend cow water into more of the Riviera area or the South Torrance area?
No, it would really cost an arm and a leg. It would take a ballot measure by the whole city, and we'd have to be fully disclosed to them that your water rates are going to go up, because Cal Water recognizes water is very valuable. And it's one of the great things that we have. You know, I'm going to talk about our budget and how bad things are, but the equity that we have in a water department keeps us from bankruptcy. If we would have to, we could sell the water department, maybe to Cal Water or some other water department, for probably north of $1 billion. That's B with a billion with a B. Water is so very valuable, but you know, it's sort of like property. You don't want to sell it because they ain't making it anymore. And we have a water department. If we ever get the chance, Judy, I have at one time we had 3 members on the council from West Torrance, and most of West Torrance is Cal Water. And they would have liked nothing more than Torrance water. But I digress. But we'll keep looking at it. I mean, we always say there's a possibility, but I really don't think that's realistically in the near term at all.
This is so too bad, because that would be nice for our neighbors.
Yeah, I have to get a long hose from my house, and perhaps.
Now, here's one that I've heard too. This is kind of a little off topic, but several people have asked me, why are we having so many increasingly frequent power outages? And that was a big thing for us a few weeks ago. I know I was subbing at South High School that day, and even the high school went dark for a while.
That has nothing to do with water.
No, I know. It's just, well, utilities, okay?
It's our trees. It's our utility.
Yeah,
The aging infrastructure and getting around to repairing it, but the winds play havoc on that. And every time we take down a tree, people, oh my God, you're denuding our neighborhoods. And a lot of that comes down to we're removing trees because we want to get them out before they fall on somebody or tear down a power line. With regard to the power failures, and sometimes it's an explosion of one of their pieces of equipment.
yeah.
It's unfortunate. Southern Cal Edison, it's one of those things like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. They start on one end, and by the time they get to the other end, it's time to start all over again. And that's what they're up to. It's important for us when we get those to make sure they get fixed rapidly. Calling in Southern Cal Edison, they're pretty responsive to the city. I know when I usually get text messages or emails when there's a power outage, and I push it on to our government affairs rep, and they usually give me a time frame at least when it's going to be up and running.
Okay.
But, we have them too. We keep looking to maybe get one of those generators that come on automatically, or maybe the solar with the solar panels that will, with the battery backups would be helpful in that. Maybe in a few years we won't have that problem when everybody's driving around electric cars and solar on their roofs. Maybe I'm just wishing too hard.
Oh, okay, thank
Now
you.
let me get to election 2022. Okay, you have an election coming up in June 7th of 2022, and you could wind up with actually only two people with any experience on the council, one with 4 years experience and one with 2 years experience, if things go a certain way. So it's really important for you to look at your election and see what is out there as far as candidates go. I'm terming out of office. We have a couple of appointed council people who will not be there, and there's two other term outs, one other term out, and one person's running for another office. Be careful for the dog whistling. Don't buy into dog whistling. And I would encourage you, when you have a candidates forum, and I know you do have a candidates forum, always have a good one, ask those open-ended questions. What do you believe is the biggest problem facing the city? And how do you believe that problem can be solved? We can all identify the problem. Give me a solution. How will you address homelessness? Not homelessness as an issue. Let the county do it. What will you do to resolve this issue? What will you do to resolve? Not just let them spout off about their dog whistling to you. Okay, now I get down to really ugly stuff. As I mentioned, I got elected in 2008. I took office July 1st, 2008, and had no idea that mortgages bust was going to happen, that Lehman Brothers and so many other banks would go under because of inappropriate behavior by those people. But anyhow, we ran into what we call the Great Recession. We reduced staff, reorganized operations, and reduced budgets. We've never recovered from that as far as manpower goes, folks. Years ago, when I was a HOA president, we had 2,200 employees. As I'm talking to you tonight, we got 1,200 employees. We are lean, mean, fighting machine. Several budget cuts, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. We started seeing some improvement in the economy. Sales tax was going back up. Utility users tax. I don't know if you realize that we have several streams of income, and each and every one of them is called tax. You might call it a bond, but it's still a tax, or a fee. It's still a tax. Our big one is sales tax. Our secondary one is our property taxes and our utility users tax. More about that later. But we had several impacts after 2012. I remember in April of 2014, I was running for mayor. I was sitting in Mayor Scotto's office when he took a telephone call from Toyota, and they announced they were leaving. That was like 2 months or a month and a half before I got elected as the mayor. That was an impact. Pension investment return adjustment at PERS. They started as, it used to be 7.75%. They lowered it to 7.5%. They lowered it to 7%. As that number goes down, it means the city has to pay more in. They're now talking about reducing it to 6.8 or maybe even 6.5%, which will increase our payments to the pension obligations that we have. The refinery was shut down in 2015 after it exploded in February of that year. It was out of service for almost 18 months. How did that impact us? Well, they are the largest users of utilities in our community. About $700,000 to $800,000 a month they pay in their utility users tax to the city of Torrance. So for 18 months, we were without that income. Now you see, we were in a recession. We went down. We lost income, and it was very difficult when Toyota was leaving because they weren't just moving out, letting somebody move in. They waited for 2 years to slowly attribute their or make their way to plain old Texas, but they finally got there. Del Amo Fashion Center, it reopened in 2015, late 14, early 15, but that was after it was closed for 3 years, or it was really small. So it depleted a lot of the sales tax we were getting. We were using our reserves to backfill on an awful lot of this stuff, always betting that things would get better. Things would get better. We rely on our sales tax. And like I said, it's almost 30% of the income that we receive to run our city. There's been a shift in that, as we've noticed with Amazon and other online sales to sales tax. Although it looks like we will continue to get about $50 million a year in sales tax revenue. Hopefully it'll increase even more than that. Some unexpected costs that we've run into in that time as well. The homelessness responses, the refinery explosion, our coyote management work, our housing legislative mandates that we've been fighting with. And then I'll bring you to March of 2020. All of a sudden, all of our internet went down. We were hijacked for ransom and lost everything. And it was 3 days later that COVID-19 hit us as well. So that was a double whammy in March of 2020. Then we had some civil unrest. Fortunately, we, I think, got around that with a lot of early activity. But all of the activity that we did responding to COVID-19 really took resources that we had within our city. And remember what I said, we closed down everything in March. It was March 16th. Your Irish mayor will never forget, he had to tell restaurants they could not open on March 17th.
Oh, a sad day.
That was a heartbreaker for me and really a heartbreaker for all of our restaurants and all of our businesses. And we went for 2.5 months with virtually no sales tax revenue, took that away from us. No utility users tax because nobody was buying gasoline from the refinery. Nobody was flying in the airplanes that they fuel. And really that shut down our utility users tax money from them. And then fortunately, our property taxes remains solid. We have a build out city and we have very few distress sales. Even during the big recession, we didn't see too many distress sales in our community, not like others. But our hotel revenue, the TOT, the bed tax, that fell off the table. There was nobody in our hotels for 2 months. And right now, as we sit here, they're up to about 50% occupancy and the rack rate is a lot lower. So we're getting less tax money. It used to be $10 to $14 million in revenue from or bed taxes from the hotels. And we're down to about maybe 5 million if we're going to be lucky this year. So we do have a big hole in our budget. The American Rescue Plan, we fought for that. And thank you to the administration. They did offer and give us about $24 million, a little bit more than that.
Yes.
12 million this year, 12 million next year. That'll go a long way to helping fill up our reserves, but it's one-time monies. It's not going to come in every year. And we looked at a sales tax measure a couple years ago, actually at the last city election. And I was somewhat hijacked. I wanted to just do a sales tax because we're laying an awful lot of money on the table. It's a 3/4 cent addition to the sales tax. It would take us up to 10.25%, which is the maximum allowed by law and what's being charged in most of the cities surrounding us. Some people have told us, well, if you raise that sales tax, Mayor, I'm never going to go to your Costco again. I'll go to the Costco in Hawthorne. Well, if you go to Costco in Hawthorne, they're going to charge you 10.25%. Mayor, I'm not going to buy a car in your city because I can get it cheaper someplace else. Well, I'll tell you, if you buy it someplace else, you're going to pay 10.25% because they have to pay the rates that you do where you register the vehicle. So that money's going to come here. Jack Walzer, one of our newly appointed council members, he's been in retail for years, decades. He said, you know, people don't recognize sales tax. 3/4 of a cent. You know, that's $7.50 for every $1,000 you spend. That's a good coffee at Starbucks or a Coffee Bean, and that's for $1,000. If the 3/4 cent sales tax would pass, that would mean $27 million additionally coming to the city. We would be able to maintain the services that we have. And when I say maintain your services, right now, we're fighting uphill. We really are scratching. We had every department do budget cuts, 5%. We let the police and the fire not do it because we believe that safety, public safety is the most important thing in our community. But if we get to July 1st next year, our police department is going to have to cut $8 million from its budget. And our fire department is going to have to cut almost $2 million from its budget. Folks, that means parking a rescue unit. That's 6 bodies and a rescue. On the police department side, it's not going to be a police department we recognize. Patrol is the most important thing, and we need more than 65 officers on patrol. That doesn't leave us much for all the special units, the detective bureau, the special investigation, the squads that are doing property crimes, the squads that are doing crimes against people, the cold cases that they've been solving all these years. It's going to be a totally different city. You know, our library system's $8 million to operate. You were talking earlier about El Retiro. $8 million we spend providing a library system. Well, here's the balance. Do you want the police department the way it's always been, or do you want to close all the libraries? I don't think we'd want to close our libraries. I think we like the city that we have right now. The other thing is sales tax is not all paid by us, the people who live here. It's the people who go to Del Amo Fashion Center and buy something there. That's where our biggest sales tax revenue comes from. And they tell me it's 40% citizens, 60% otherwise. Sometimes I go in the mall and I don't know anybody. I'm thinking it's 95% other people spending their money in there.
Oh.
So I want you to really consider looking at that. You know, we have a $12 to $14 million shortfall. We have a labor shortage. As I told you, we went from 2,200 to 1,200 employees. We need to recruit and retrain qualified employees. We can't keep bus drivers because other cities can outpay us as far as bus drivers. They're driving 40-foot buses with people in them, and we want them to be safe. We want them not to work mandatory overtime like they're doing now. Our police officers are working mandatory overtime right now because overtime is cheaper than bringing in other officers. We can't hire police officers fast enough right now, especially with what has recently occurred. I believe we have 13 in the academy right now. Maybe the number is a little bit different, but they have another training program once they come out of there. And it takes a while to hire people because we want the best, the brightest. We don't want what happened before this recent occurrence to ever occur again in our city. So is there a possibility? You're going to get a lot of information about it. There'll be a real campaign about it. I really had hoped that the last time we went for a sales tax, we would have had a campaign. We really didn't have a campaign. It was Mayor Furey going out and talking to homeowners associations, and we still got 42% of the vote. If we have a real honest to goodness campaign out there, I think we can get this through, because I know our citizens want to have a city that they love so very much. They love this, you know. I think the best thing you can hear from a candidate running for office is, the reason I moved here is because we have great schools and we have nice, safe streets, a good police department, a great fire department. That's why I moved here. And I dare say most of you would say the same thing, that you came here because we have good schools for our children, grandchildren, and we have safe communities. And the more police we have, the more fire we have, the better we do at that.
So Mayor, Mr. Mayor, there's some questions coming up here on this. So,
I wanted to give you some good news before I do that, but
well,
you know, let me get off because I was spouting all this bad news. Let me give you some really
okay,
Good
give us some
news,
good news. We're ready for good stuff.
businesses. And you know, business development is so very important, but it goes hand in hand with absolutely everything. If we have a safe community, businesses want to be here. We have to have housing for the businesses, for those people to live in there. And it's sometimes difficult getting people to bring their business here because of our lack of affordable housing. Another story, and I still believe we can find it. I think the intelligence level of our community can find places where housing is appropriate within our community that will not change the character and nature of our neighborhoods. And I'll give you one example before I even get started. The Mitsui Marketplace on Western Avenue, it closed and moved to the mall. And the guy was going to actually lease it out to a church. That fell through. He just recently sold it to a developer who's going to develop it for industrial purposes. I really believe that was the perfect location for housing because it's on our border. It's walking distance to our favorite Old Town Torrance. It would be a great, I think, a paradigm to get business stimulation in Old Torrance, but we'll see what happens with that. But you know, I had envisioned that years ago, and he sold it out from underneath me. I didn't have the money for it, and the developer that purchased it for industrial purposes spent a lot more money than the housing people. We've really seen a shift. Before I got elected, everybody was buying property, industrial property, commercial property, and turning into housing because they could spin it off real quick. Everything's changed now. The refinery has sold much of its property off already, and it's selling some more of it to industrial property. They're going to be building warehousing and R&D on those properties. So, you know, it's a new paradigm, but do we want to just be known as a warehouse community, or do we want to be known as something else? And Sarah's Regis, and that's the Torrance Commerce Center. They took over that property where that former Prius manufacturer left. And there's a couple hundred people working in the new development. Alpine Electronics, they were actually nearby to where that Japanese car manufacturer used to be, and they provided a lot of electronics to them. I don't like to say the word because I got rid of my Prius when they left. I bought a Honda. I'm with hometown.
We don't want to say that word. No, Mr. Mayor, just a quick one. So you're talking about the good news, and then someone has asked, what are our priorities, your priorities for the city? What are your priorities? Of course, we want to encourage businesses to come back, but what overall are the priorities for the city? Beyond city.
That's a real open-ended question because I think the business development of our city is most important. But it's also the part and parcel that I said, we have to found housing. We have to locate it. It's mandatory. We're being impacted. And had we done it prior to this, perhaps the RHNA numbers wouldn't have been so scary. And perhaps Senate Bill 9 and 10 and the ADUs wouldn't have pitted a neighbor against neighbor. But I still think there's an opportunity. I still think there's areas in our city. The drive-in theater, Rhodium. Really, couldn't that be a nice place for some housing over there?
Sure.
I think if I came in there with a plan for housing, the neighbors there would probably put me up for sainthood.
Exactly.
They don't want the traffic and the noise coming from the swap meet over there. All along Artesia Boulevard, they're really tired housing that we have there. Redondo Beach Boulevard, Crenshaw Boulevard in the north end of our city. Like I said, Western Avenue, a great location. We received some really tired industrial properties. And with all these new industrial properties that are being built up, I think it's time for those people to move into those industrial properties that are brand new, state of the art, and allow a redevelopment of sorts of those, that shows our city. Right now, when you come into our city, right along Western Avenue, aren't you really proud of the city of Torrance?
No.
Very few areas that are, very few areas. If you're coming on north on or south on Hawthorne Boulevard, you're coming out of Lawndale where they have these beautiful scapes in the middle of the street. And then you get to where the Galleria is. Wow, aren't you proud to be Well, I don't know. Am I in Torrance? Am I in Redondo Beach? Am I sure? I have no idea where I am. There's no gateway there. I think we need something like that. These
Yeah.
little signs that we have are not enough. I'd like to see more signage that recognizes where we are as the city of Torrance.
And do we have plans for this kind of redevelopment? Because it sounds really.
Redevelopment is gone from they took that away from us as the state in 2011. The only redevelopment we have now is talking developers into doing it, showing them that it is doable. It's so important that they can understand. And there are some developers who are looking. I mean, you look around Gable House, they're looking to market that. Sears property, that's looking to be marketed too. That could be housing, a hotel, a convention center, more retail there. These are things that are going to be happening. Let me get back to tell you some of this good stuff, because Alpine Electronics, as I mentioned, they were right next to that Japanese company. When the Japanese company moved to Texas, they moved to Texas. Well, guess what? They sold their property. Now they came back. They had to buy property at Sarah's Regis because the other one was gone already. So they're back here in California and bigger than they used to be. In the Sarah's Regis property, they have wash laundry is there now. It's who knew that washers and dryers, commercial washer and dryers are such a big business. They have a 150,000 square foot building that they do that in. Icarus is a drone destroyer company moving 70 people in. They're coming in next week, actually, into Torrance over there. Arlington Capital Properties just purchased L3 Harris up on Lomita. That's called Stellan. They have 600 employees and they're making that the corporate headquarters. Interestingly enough, one of their offices in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where our Torrance Little League team recently played. Varda Space Industries, they're coming up on Alaska, developing capabilities to manufacture fiber optic cables to pharmaceuticals in space, manufacture in space. Pelican Products, Physical Optics, and US Hybrid have all been acquired recently by other companies, but they're staying in Torrance and making this their home to enlarge. Polypeptide and Bachem, they are biotech businesses that are involved in peptide manufacture, and that's one of the biggest products in vaccines. Peptides is part of the delivery source, and they are the two largest in the world. Polypeptide right down the street from City Hall on Maple, and Bachem out by the airport. They're enlarging as well. Celestron, they're the telescope company. They have a new landlord, but they say they're not leaving. Again, they're blocks away from City Hall. Rabiscon's over there, and that's a company that makes metal detectors for airports. Pretty busy business. I've been trying to get them to donate one to City Hall, just for me. Prologis and Kearney, I told you about that. They've acquired some of the properties at the refinery. One of them is, if you go over the Madrona Bridge, if you're looking west of the bridge, that's the Kearney property. They've moved a lot of dirt over there. They're going to be building some warehouses with their research and development there. On the other side, where the Mounted Posse is located now, that whole corner over there is going to Prologis. I think they're putting in 3 buildings. Again, warehousing and research and development. Don't feel bad for the Mounted Posse. The refinery's moving them across the street and building them new stables for those old nags that have been living there forever and ever. They've actually turned out really well for cool. Being able to get that. Now, Rexford Industries, they purchased the former Mitsui marketplace. They're also looking to buy a swath of land from the refinery from Crenshaw to Van Ness, right off 190th Street, the frontage on that. So that's going to be a really big change in 190th Street landscape. Again, it'll be for industrial properties because it'll take a long time to clean up the soil over there to make it residential.
I'm sorry, Pat, I'm trying to keep up with the chat questions and I'm not doing a very good job, but talking about the refinery, are there any plans for either downsizing the refinery or finding alternatives for modified hydrofluoric acid?
It's going to be done by attrition. It's going to be done by attrition.
We've been waiting, you know.
The folks in the refinery industry recognize they would say 20 years, and this was about a year ago, and they're down to 10 years now. And that's why I think it's a good sign that they're selling off a lot of the dormant property, because the
Sure.
call for gasoline is going to diminish with the
Yes.
mandates that we're receiving for electric vehicles by 2030. And those of you who are not driving electric vehicles, you're being really foolish. I'm driving an electric vehicle. Not only is it a clean vehicle, I don't have to stop and buy gas, and my electric bills are cheaper because all of my electric diminishes after 10 o'clock at night. Because I have an electric vehicle. So my air conditioner, my washer dryer, and all those other electric utilities that we use all go down in price after that. So these are things that you should check out. And it's going to be, pretty soon we will have solar. If we look back 10 years ago where we were with cell phones and think where we will be in 10 years as far as vehicles, the sky is the limit. Autonomous vehicles, it's going to be before us before you know it. We have an autonomous vehicle manufacturer in our city right now. Sometimes you'll probably see it riding around. It looks like an old Volkswagen van, kind of modernized. It's got leopard skin on it, or maybe not leopard skin, zebra skins, so you can't recognize it. I believe there's a driver in it, but actually it's using an awful lot of its own technology to
Okay,
drive.
you're scaring us now, like there might not be a driver. Okay.
No, there'll be a
Well,
person in the
that's-
driver's seat. California mandates that right now.
Okay,
but,
candidly,
They're
Mayor,
already test driving it right now. So,
Oh.
you're going to see that. The refinery is still looking there. There's a solid state catalytic. They're still looking at that, but
yeah,
I don't think it's going to pencil out. I think before that would pencil out, they're going to disappear from the face of the earth. They're
really.
gonna be a dinosaur. Yeah, that's my gut
You
feeling.
think they're just gonna leave or just
Well,
not
They're
use the,
closing down.
They have, like I said, they've sold off. I can't tell you how many acres right now. I think one was 45 acres, another one was about 30 acres. They're looking to market another 70 acres. So it started out with 750 acres. I mean, you can't keep compressing like that. Will there be places that's going to be difficult to clean up? Absolutely.
yeah.
But we'll get through that. But we're looking at, as a city, what are we going to do? Because utility users tax is going to diminish, whatever's going to be there. Are we going to be able to survive with that? These are things that are going to happen. We have to look to the 22nd century. We're in the 21st now, and sometimes we act as though we're still in the 20th century.
So, but do you think maybe 10 years is a likely timeline for
Well, I
the?
hope I'm here to say goodbye to it. And I hope that's 10 years, and I hope we all can get together and celebrate that. I think I really heard that from somebody in the industry. And they basically went, and a year ago, they told me 20, and just recently, they told me 10. And that has a lot to do with mandates in other states as well. So, we're going to see what happens and keep our fingers crossed. We watched them very carefully. We still have all the mandates on safety that were instituted by the consent decree years and years ago, and everything that came out afterwards. The AQMD mandated lots of barricades over there. So all that's been put into place. They didn't have to go with the power issue that they had with La Fresha because I guess Southern Cal Edison kind of found a better way to do it, which really was a lot less expensive way for Edison and the refinery to do it. So they're having much more stability with their electric over there. They go directly into the power lines at La Fresha, which is up here in North Torrance off of Yukon.
Oh,
So, we haven't seen any incidents, knock on wood here. Remember, all you folks, I live 14 doors from the refinery. You live probably 14 miles from the refinery. So if I hear something, I'll let you know. When they used to send me text messages telling me there was a flare going on, I said, well, why didn't you just ask me? I could have told you. Because I can see it from my backyard when it's coming on. Let me get one more, all these good things, and because some of these are, I think people like, on Hawthorne Boulevard, Amazon Fresh is taken over where Smart and Final used to be at Torrance Boulevard and Hawthorne. Amazon Fresh is a grocery store by Amazon. If you've not been in one, cherish the experience because you don't have to pull out your wallet anymore. You register and it automatically rings everything up and you just take it out to your car. or they'll deliver it to your home for you.
Oh,
Further up where the jewelry store used to be across from the mall, the one on the northwest corner, the last one that was built there, and I forget what the name of it is, it was only there for 2 years. They went out of business right at the beginning of the pandemic. That's going to be Amazon marketplace. So there be a place where you can go in and buy retail at Amazon right across from the mall. Kind of an interesting concept. So Amazon will have 2 stores on Hawthorne Boulevard. Hobby Lobby obviously is up and running. Shake Shack has 2 spots they're going to be at. One over across where Mills Restaurant used to be at the western entrance, western off ramp at the 405. That's going to be a Shake Shack as well as a little hotel over there, right across the street from that former Japanese auto manufacturer that moved away to Plano, Texas. Raising Canes, I know it raised some cane down in South Torrance. They're looking to build another one in North Torrance now that the traffic has subsided on Hawthorne Boulevard. And Mendocino Farms is coming into to the mall. Avanti R&D, that's an interesting one. Anybody who's a car enthusiast remembers the Avanti. Well, these are a bunch of former auto company engineers developing a smart city technologies, communications with traffic signals, et cetera. They think they know better than the engineers who do it presently, and hopefully they're right. And then there's Mimyr. You can't say that. It's MIMYR. It's a techie company developing autonomous systems, may work with Torrance Transit on robotic sanitizing system to clean buses. So robotics will be doing everything. And robotics is how you shop at Amazon. Now, I think I hit on absolutely everything, and I see the chat box. Do you want to call them off to me, Judy?
well, let's see, there's just, okay, how about, okay. This one's been up there for a while. The city of Torrance needs to reestablish noise monitoring and flight tracking like the web track system will you, Mr. Mayor, support this? Okay.
I was vehemently opposed to them doing away with it. Richard got that right. I couldn't believe the vote that night. You know, it was penny wise and pound foolish. I think the renewal was like $35,000 a year. It's going to cost us probably double or triple that to get one in place again per year.
Oh my
But
gosh.
you know, maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I am wrong. Hopefully we can get a cheaper brand, but you know, it wasn't broke. It didn't have to get fixed.
Wow, okay.
Mhm.
Well, here's a question to ask you to talk about. Well, again, MHF, if there were an accident, you know, it would be a serious one, incredibly dangerous fuel. It's a chemical used in the production of the gas.
Agreed.
Can they switch? So it's not going to pencil out, you said. It won't make financial sense for them. That's why they're not doing it. It's
Yeah.
too expensive for them.
No, it would not, and they just don't have the ability to do that on that campus. And you know, if they outlaw it, and then that's all the AQMD. You know, they made all the agreements with them. We watched it, and we're firmly involved in all the discussions about it. But you know,
Okay.
as I said, I live 14 houses from there. If I thought it was in imminent danger, I would be down there living in a Riviera or living in Palm Springs in our house down there. I think the remediation efforts that are in there, according to all the advisors that have looked at it, are sufficient to protect it from another cataclysmic accident there.
Okay.
That was an unusual accident. I think it had to do with maintenance. That was
Yeah.
done by ExxonMobil. The PBF people have been, I think, more forthright with the city and forthright with their employees as well. You know, I get to speak to their employees on a regular basis, and they feel a lot better with the management team that's in there right now.
Okay. Okay, this sounds good. Someone asks, a couple people are asking, would you please talk about the status of the Hillside overlay ordinance or Hillside cases that are coming up? So there's I mean,
Oh.
or any Hillside issue that you want to talk about, but we, of course, it's a big issue to people who live.
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
area.
and it should be, and it's important. And I think, Riviera Homeowners Association has always been at the bat for everybody, and as you should. But, I'm really proud to say that I don't believe, since I've been mayor, that we've let anybody go over the floor area ratio of 5.0. We've protected the views.
Wait, in the Hillside? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there are many.
No,
Sorry.
I said since I've been mayor, there are no projects that we have approved over 5.0. And
Oh.
I'm okay to be corrected, but I really think since I've been mayor, I've been adamant about that 5.0 is my buzz number. 5.0, somebody's asking, that's 5.0 is the floor area ratio as opposed to the size of the lot. So in easy terms, if it's a 10,000 square foot lot,
Right.
a 5,000 square foot home is all you could put on there. There's a lot more than that, but that's the easy way to describe it.
Okay, but, okay, for
No
Mr.
lots are 10,000 square feet in the Hillside.
So, Mr. Mayor, for Mike Terry's case, a 0.60 FAR home was approved by the planning division, and it went to the planning commission, which also approved the 0.60 FAR home. And if she
Oh,
had
that's a
not,
5.0. That was a 5.0.
no, that was the most recent one. This was the one in January. I'm talking about back in January.
No 6.0s up there.
No, okay, but but 0.60 plan, what was previously sent in by Kelly Ham, the architect, was 0.60 FAR.
Mhm.
And it was approved by the planning division, and it was sent on to the planning commission, and they approved it. And then she appealed it in January to city council.
Right.
And of course, it was overturned. But had she not appealed it, well, she had to pay $750, go before city council and appeal it, because the planning division is not restricting their approvals to 0.50 FAR homes. They're just saying-
That's on everybody here. We got 81 participants tonight. Somebody should go on the planning commission. Somebody should apply. For the planning.
Okay,
We need people on the planning commission. We need people from your neighborhood to be on the planning commission. And here I am telling you, get on the planning commission, apply for it. It's not that difficult. There's tough decisions you have to make, but we need you there. If you're not there at in one of the seats, you can't watch the game.
Yeah.
And you can protect your neighborhood by doing that. I decided when I started, I got on the Civil Service Commission because that was my passion. I thought it was important. I'm a former government employee, a recovering government employee, if you want to call it that. And I wanted to protect our employees, but I wanted to make sure we had the best employees. I did a couple terms on the Civil Service Commission. And there for a while, the feeder into the council was Civil Service Commission. Frank was on the Civil Service Commission, Frank Scano, Tom Brewer, Bill Sutherland, myself. And then all of a sudden it came in that we were getting people from the Planning Commission, Kurt Wiedemann, Milton Herring. I mean, it's crazy, but we've had some long longevity on those commissions, but we need people from your community to be in there so you have a seat at the table, so you can hear everything.
Well, I agree totally. We need to get participation from the community,
Yeah.
but we also need the planning division, the planning department to adhere to the Hillside overlay. That's been kind of more of a recent development. They've been approving plans that are bigger than 0.50 FAR, and they've been approving remodels that are a two-story that are not necessary. That if there are alternatives on the lot, then the builder is supposed to try and keep a remodel at ground level, for example. Okay.
Just so somebody volunteered to get on a commission as long as they don't shoot her. No guarantees, Athena.
Okay.
No
Okay.
guarantees. I have armed security. You don't.
Okay. So.
What is MHF? I saw that pop up.
Here's a question.
Hydrogen peroxide.
Question, written in a little while ago had to do with the homeless in the Riviera area, not just in other parts of Torrance. How can we direct them to a place to help them with food, housing, and so forth?
Well, we're going through that problem right now. We have, there is a court case, and it's out of Colorado. No, I'm sorry. God, my mind is blank, and I'm a lawyer and I'm forgetting our court case. But in any event, the court case basically says that we cannot move anybody who is homeless, even off of the sidewalks or the streets, unless we have a bed for them. And there's arguments that say we have to have a bed for all of them. We don't have any beds for homeless people in our community. We've come up with a plan to build a homeless encampment, but it's better than a homeless encampment. It would be a wraparound services over by the courthouse parking lot, by our police department. We're looking at 44 homes. They're little 11 by 11 facilities. They're air
boxes?
conditioned, they're
Yeah.
heated. There'll be people watching them. They'll be fenced in. They have to agree to be there. They have to do counseling. And it's our opinion that if we have those and they're not entirely full, we'll be able to move people along who are homeless. Right now it takes, and we have a homeless coordinator, it takes sometimes 12 to 15 interactions with some of the homeless people to get them to accept services. And sometimes they disappear when the services get there. It's a lot of mental health issues are involved. Drugs and mental health, I think 99% of them are suffering with that. But because of this court decision, we cannot move them unless we have a bed for them. And a bed does not mean a cot out in the middle of the street. It means we have to have some kind of place for them to be safe and sleep in. So we are working on that. Of course, we identified a place right next to our police department, right on the city campus. And then now everybody who lives in Madrona Gardens feels as though that's way too close to them because those people will come into their neighborhood. I don't know if there's a perfect place for it. We're also looking over by our transit center on Crenshaw Boulevard that will be done probably in January or February. But unfortunately, there are deed restrictions there that people are not allowed to live there. We're trying to get the state to allow us to move it there. It's far enough away from people or houses and residents, perhaps it'll work. And we're looking for any location at all, whether it be in a commercial area, as long as it's far enough away from residents that they will not be impacted. But I'll tell you, the place next to the police station was an excellent location because they would be sharing a wall with the police department. I really think, and it means 24/7 monitoring. There'll be a counselor on presence 24/7. There'll be security on present 24/7. They have to be in programs. Otherwise they get booted out. They have to agree to do it. So it's not like the people who you see wandering around and camping out on our streets. It's unfortunate that the people in the Madrona area don't believe that they think that's going to be a harbinger for the end of their neighborhood. But I really don't. We identified it because it's so close to the police station. We think it would be a safe location. If we put it over by the transit center, I'm okay with that. As long as we find a location for it, I'm good with it.
Mayor, is there anyone we could call, anyone in the city we can call other than the police department if we see a homeless person who's having a crisis in our neighborhood?
You can call the city council's main number. And boy, do I even know that? I never call that number. Let me look on my business card.
Counseling.
City council, you say?
Yeah, just call there and ask to speak to someone about homeless. They're on the third floor. We have one person who is 50% dedicated to that. And then we have another person who's our outreach person. She's 100% dedicated to it. So they actually, once they identify a homeless person, they go and make interaction with them. Sometimes it takes 8, 10, 12 visits with them before they build up a rapport that they're willing to accept services. But it's going to be an ongoing beast. It really, truly is. And it's unfortunate that we have people who are living on the streets right now. And unfortunately, whether the drugs or the alcohol or their mental health conditions allow them to be okay with that. We certainly, I think as a society, owe much better things for our people.
Yeah. Here's, I think I have the answer to your question. Did you say that if somebody sees a homeless person, they should call the city council? Is that right? At City Hall?
Yeah,
Yeah,
call
okay.
the council number. And
The
they'll
council
direct-
number is
2801, right?
2801,
All
618
right.
2801. See, you knew. Okay. Yeah, 310-618-2801.
I never call that number. I don't know why I
Okay.
remembered it.
But now, if people want to talk to you, they can call that same number, right?
Yeah.
618-2801.
Yeah.
So that would be a contact for you or for any council member. Okay.
It's on my business card. I have to read it.
Okay.
I never call myself.
Oh, God. All right.
All right,
Well,
what else? Got another, hopefully that answered that question. It's a horrible problem, and it's really, it's a societal problem. It's not just a Torrance problem.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get our arms around it and move people into safer conditions.
okay, thank you. Well, I thank you so much. I don't know, do we have a pretty responsible group of people here. Do we have time for 3 direct questions to the mayor? Because I've done kind of a crummy job of keeping up with the chat. Honestly, I've never done this. It's like, oh my God. I'm looking at the chat. It's like,
Really, we did have a question about e-bikes, which are gaining in popularity. Are there any plans with the city to expand or enhance traffic lanes to accommodate bikes and e-bikes?
Right now, we don't have any e-bikes in our city because a majority of the council decided that would not be appropriate in our city. We have some lanes of traffic that are dedicated, not enough. There's a South Bay Bicycle Coalition that we've worked with. Obviously, we don't see bikes on Hawthorne Boulevard and Crenshaw Boulevard for the reasons that the traffic is there. Most of the coalition and the South Bay Coalition put together routes for bikers that are off the beaten track. And it's unfortunate, the connectivity in the city of Torrance is horrible. Like if you want to go to the mall, by your bike, it's almost impossible to get there, I think, if you want to stay in a bike lane. I'd like to see more of that, but as I said, the e-bikes, that was basically outlawed in our city. But it can come back again. I'd like to see those because they can harness them into a certain area. Where was I at recently? In Washington, D.C. And even in the neighborhoods there, the e-bikes had to be within that neighborhood. So if you were at one of the circles, it was in that certain area, those bikes would stay. They couldn't go to another one. You'd have to get off that bike, go on another bike to continue on. So maybe something like that where we could harness them all downtown in the old Torrance neighborhood.
neat. That'd be nice. Another raised hand, somebody who's a question I didn't answer for you, ask for you on chat. Is another one out there? Oh, wow.
E-bikes are prolific. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I just saw.
I know. Okay, so, then I guess I would just say, are there any
They're not in my city.
more questions? No, I wanted to say, actually, I wanted for people to have the opportunity to also ask Richard Root a question or 2 or 3 at this time after your presentation, if this is this is good. And it sounds like it's actually a good time because I was predicting to people that this would be a good time for us to sort of start wrapping things up. But we've gotten a lot of information coming at us tonight. It's all good stuff. And I just would like to know, does anybody have another question for the mayor? Let's see.
Maybe we did have a question earlier, going back to the airport regarding the left turn that takes planes over the Riviera, and
Yes.
what residents, what recourse would we have to report it? Richard or the mayor might.
Yeah, it can be reported, but everyone I've ever seen on that, and Richard, you may bear this out, the pilot always says that they got the information from the tower because of some other condition. And, I really, it's very difficult for us to adjudicate that because the tower has not been the most cooperative. Is that, they believe that's a fiefdom there, the airport, and they take care of the planes and they make sure air safety is important. And so if they send somebody with a left turn, and I don't know, maybe Richard, you might know if they even ask for a left turn before they get it.
May I add, there was a question asking for a definition of the early left turn. I know what it is, but I'm not the expert. Either Mayor Furey or Richard can answer that directly. Explain what an early left turn is.
Richard's on mute. I don't.
You're on mute.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody get it. Mayor, you want to explain what an
Early left turn is a left turn made before. I have no idea, Judy.
I believe.
Before you go,
I'll
you have to
answer
go a
it
certain
because
way.
Richard, can you
Yeah,
answer?
Richard,
Would
go.
you answer this?
Yeah, basically it's when an aircraft taking off to the west, instead of going straight out on the runway heading, they turn left under 1,500 feet and fly south of Pacific Coast Highway, across Pacific Coast Highway, over the Riviera.
Right.
So that's what's called an early left turn. And the problem is, the mayor's right, the FAA tower is not very helpful. They completely disregard the city's noise abatement laws. They're only concerned with sequencing aircraft to land and take off safely. And they don't want to be bothered with extra, concern about noise abatement.
Yeah, their
Now-
loyalty is to the pilots.
Right.
Let me just explain. The question came up, do pilots request this? I've listened to hundreds of communications between the tower and pilots. And I would say about half the time, or maybe even more than half, it's something that the pilot does on his or her own. They say they want to do a downwind left departure, for example, which by definition, every time they do that, it's an early left turn. But the tower says, okay, they allow it. So the city staff has taken the position that those are violations. What's not a violation is if the tower directs the aircraft to turn left for some reason. Like, for example, an aircraft will take off and maybe behind it, there's another aircraft taking off, which is a much faster aircraft, and they don't want the one overtaking the other. So they'll tell the earlier aircraft to veer left, to get out of the way for an aircraft coming up from behind. So that would not be considered a violation because all the pilot is doing is abiding by tower instructions. But when it's something that the pilot decides to do on his or her own, like maybe they're taking a shortcut to Catalina and they don't want to fly all the way out to the ocean before turning left, that's something the staff would consider a violation under the old enforcement, but that hasn't happened in 2 years. And, I guess I'm just wondering what's taking so long for the city to get a response from the FAA. And maybe the city should resume enforcement and, independent of what the FAA says, because they're only going to give an opinion anyway. Why can't the city resume enforcement of the left turn rule, again, where it's something that the pilot decides to do? And we asked for a meeting. This was a decision that was made by staff a couple of years ago to stop enforcement. There was no public notice. The council wasn't involved in it. It was just a staff decision as far as I know. And so our HOA asked for a meeting with the city manager back in July to discuss the issue, but we haven't been able to get a meeting. So maybe what needs to happen, and maybe Mayor Furey can help us just get a meeting to discuss the issue.
With,
Yeah, we can do that.
with the ROM? Is
Yeah,
that
Yes,
our new
Rob
city
Farley?
manager, and now he is over and overwhelmed by the business that he's been doing. He's working probably 16 to 18-hour days because of all the issues that I discussed earlier this evening. So, but he is very responsive to the community, whether you do a Zoom meeting with him and make it much more convenient.
Mhm.
In
Sure.
fact, I would suggest that, and I'll see if I can make that work for y'all.
Good.
that'd be good.
That would be great. That'd be appreciated.
Yeah.
Or if not him, you know, maybe he could designate somebody else, but
Yeah,
Hey, I think go right to the top.
well,
You're a big help.
Oh,
right?
wait a minute. I am the top. Oh, my God.
Oh,
Okay.
did we talk to you?
Yeah, but
Oh.
only for 251 days.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, only for 2. Okay. That would be amazing. That'd be really great. We'd appreciate a meeting with him, because I know Richard has mentioned several times they've been trying to get, well, they were thinking face to face, but whatever, face to
Well,
face.
send me, Judy, please, you or Pam, send me an email basically saying we'd like to have that meeting to discuss the airport,
Specifically. the
with
early
Rob.
return.
and I'll set that up.
We can do that. Thank you.
Okay,
We'll
perfect.
we'll have a mutually agreeable time. and we can all-
Okay, great.
This has been
Okay, so,
really interesting and lots of questions, and it's wonderful to see the participation and the issues that people are concerned with. Judy, I think we need to move on now.
yeah, I think so too. So just thank you so much, Mayor Furey, and thank you, Richard Root, for this amazing program. Thank you for sharing time with us, listening to us, and answering questions about these important issues in the city. If you have any further questions for Richard Root, you can email us at president@hollywoodriviera.org, and we will get those questions to Richard Root, and we'll get an answer to you. If you would like to talk with the mayor, you can call him at City Hall at 618-2801, or
Email is the best.
email's the best.
P Furey, Furey @torranceca.gov.
Okay,
I promise to get back to you. Any issues that you want to discuss, try and make it brief. I mean, I do get hundreds of emails every day, and I try to respond to all of them. Some of them I could probably publish because I think everybody would get enjoyment out of them. Some of them,
okay.
I just saw one today. I can't share it with you because it was so crazy. It's that crazy. Someday when we're offline, we can talk about that. It'll be in my book.
Okay, it'll be in your book. Okay, we'll look for that to come out.
Yes, I bet you there are some funny ones.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for all the great questions and just taking the time to listen. Have we solved any of the problems of the world? Probably not, but hopefully we've at least discussed some of the problems of the world, or at least the world that we love, and that's within the boundaries of the city of Torrance.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed being an elected official, whether as a council member or as the mayor. It's probably going to be more difficult on me when I have to leave office because I've enjoyed it so much, being able to meet with people and know people. But we'll still remain friends. Terry and I are not going anyplace.
Great.
We're staying in our community. And Judy, it looks like you and Pam are not going anyplace either. 10 years from now, I'll say, "Oh, Judy, you still the co-president?" Oh,
I'm here in the Galapagos. Come on.
remember, I was president of North Torrance Homeowners Association until I got elected. Then they had to get rid of me. I'm afraid to leave elected office because they may bring me back in.
Yeah,
Can I just butt in a second and tell people, speaking of leaving, don't leave yet. We
No,
still have
don't leave.
Yeah.
something else
Yeah.
going on and people think this is
I'm
over.
leaving.
It's not
Okay.
You're
yet.
not leaving. Stay
Okay, Then let me go on to the next thing and get to that. Looking ahead, our next meeting on January 26th will be about the voter initiative to overturn SB 9 and 10. That is the high density housing laws. The speaker that evening will be Redondo Beach Mayor Bill Brand, and that'll be a Zoom meeting on January 26th. And that's really all I have to say. So thank you.
Judy,
President-
Judy, hello,
And
Judy.
Pam has an announcement.
We know,
She's going to introduce you.
okay. Before we conclude the program, and it's not going to be too much longer,
No.
but our past co-president, Amy Josefek, has more information about this voter initiative that Judy just mentioned. So Amy, please tell us about it.
All right, I'm going to speak really fast because I know everybody is almost done with all of this, but don't let that belie the importance of this. Many of you have been hearing me and others in the community talk about this for the past couple of years, about the land grab being executed by the legislators in Sacramento. While being done in the name of affordable housing, which is a true and actual crisis, there's absolutely no affordable housing whatsoever that's included in a single one of these bills that are now laws like SB 9 and SB 10. Well, Bill Brand, the dedicated and indefatigable mayor of Redondo Beach, who's been fighting against bad legislating for many years, is at the forefront of a coalition of amazing community leaders from the length and breadth of this state who saw a great need and has created a ballot initiative that we will be working to get on the ballot for exactly 1 year from this week. Our own council member, Mike Griffiths, has put in a great effort in creating California Cities for Local Control and is also working hard to stop all of this legislation. OurNeighborVoices.com that I think Julian had in the chat. Julian, if you could repeat that, and it'll be on the website as well. OurNeighborVoices.com is the place that we would like and need you to go for various reasons. Firstly, to sign up with your support and even volunteer to help with signature gathering that is absolutely vital to us actually getting the initiative onto the voting forms for next year. If we do not get more than 1 million registered voter signatures, we are stopped dead in our tracks and these laws will stay in effect. And speaking of getting signatures, that is a really necessary but costly business these days. In the coming few days and weeks, final I's will be dotted and T's crossed before we'll have more information on how and where you can sign up to support this measure. We hope you'll see your way clear to donating some of your hard-earned funds to this cause. You can be sure that the developers and investing companies that stand to gain so much, who wrote and lobbied for these bills, will be out in force to try to stop us from getting this on the ballot. But if we each make a plan to talk to every friend and family member about this issue and make sure that every resident we know finds what they can to go sign on the official pages that will be submitted to the state attorney general, we stand a chance. This issue will affect every single community in the state, up and down and all across. No community will be exempt, even though certain senators actually lied to us, like by pretending that high fire zones would be exempt. They are not, and the Riviera is surrounded by several of these high fire zones and is in great danger because of it. If you are happy with the reality that starting on January 1st, because of the SB 9 law, your neighbors can each sell their lot, both on each side of you and in the front and back of you. They could sell their lot to a developer who can then raise your house and put 4 units on where your home now stands, then no need for you to do anything. You'll be fine. But I'll suggest that you reach out to Mayor Furey and our council members right now, because they have the opportunity to reject SB 10 so that that number isn't allowed to rise to 10. You could have neighbors knock down their house and build 10 units. And actually, it might be 14. There's some vagueness about the law in place of the one home that's there now. If all this sounds as problematic and horrifying to you as it does to many of us, then please log on to OurNeighborVoices.com and volunteer and sign and donate and volunteer and donate. And by the way, experience alone doth not make for a great official, but whether it's the Hillside Overlay Ordinance or prospective projects that are too large or problem police or chemicals used by the refinery or whatever, please get involved in how you want to see the city you love look. Decide who you want to represent you and plan to vote. Make your voice heard. And that is, I'll answer any questions. And if anyone sends letters again to President, that email address, I'm happy to answer them. And more information, we will know really in the coming days what's going on with this. But in the meantime, please go to that website and get involved. We need you to sign signatures for the petition to get on the ballot. And then you're going to have to vote to support this ballot initiative on November 2022.
It is Our Neighborhood. What is the name?
Ourneighborvoices.com.
Is it Our Neighbor Voices or Our Neighborhood Voices?
Ourneighborvoices.com.
Okay, thank you. All right, great. Great.
Amy, thank you so much. And
Wow.
I have
Amy,
words to say about Amy. On behalf of the RHA board, I'd like to express our deepest gratitude for your years of service to our board and the entire community. To bring attendees up to date, who may not know this, Amy has recently resigned from the board because she and her husband, Bob, have moved from Torrance to a nearby community. We'll sorely miss her valued guidance, but as obvious from her remarks, she will continue to remain involved in activities that benefit our communities. She's dedicated to the ideal that the best way to achieve positive change in government is by working at the local level. Amy, thank you so much for all
thank
you
you,
do
Amy.
for the Riviera and Torrance.
So true.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Amy.
now we can conclude. This is the end of our official program. And I too would like to express my appreciation to Mayor Furey, Richard Root, Julian and Judy for contributing to such an interesting meeting. It's been fascinating. We've covered a lot of territory and we're so glad you tuned in and look forward to seeing you again in January. We're glad, I've just said that, as usual, we'll give you plenty of notice. So good night, stay well, happy Thanksgiving. And I think that's it.
Wow. Thank you,
Thank
Pam.
you, everybody.